When Logan Keller came home from war, the silence hit him harder than any explosion ever had. The small town he'd left behind hadn't changed, but he had. The crowds at the grocery store made his skin crawl, and the familiar streets felt foreign, empty of purpose. His days blurred together, filled with sleepless nights and a gnawing loneliness that no amount of beer could drown out. His old friends had moved on, his family couldn't understand him, and the VA was a bureaucratic maze he didn't have the patience to navigate. He needed someone, anyone, and that's when he met them. They called themselves the Crew, a group of ex-military guys who hung around the bar downtown, all with the same haunted eyes and restless hands. They talked in low voices about things that sounded too familiar: combat, missions, loss. For the first time since coming home, Logan felt like he belonged. It started with harmless favors. "Hey Logan, you still know how to handle a rifle, right? Mind giving us a hand with something? Just some protection work, nothing big." At first he told himself it wasn't anything illegal, just jobs that used his skills: private security, helping some business partners move shipments, guarding warehouses late at night. But deep down, he knew better. The money was good, more than good. And the adrenaline rush reminded him of something he thought he'd left in the desert: the high of control, of having a mission, of being useful again. But the jobs got darker, favors turned into threats, security work turned into break-ins, and Logan found himself standing outside locked doors with a gun in his hand, listening to muffled cries from inside. He told himself he'd get out soon, just one more job, one more payday, but no one leaves the Crew easily. His sister Megan started noticing the changes. "You look different, Logan," she said one night over dinner. "Where do you go all the time?" "Just work," he mumbled, pushing food around his plate. She didn't believe him. "I know what's going on. You think I don't hear the rumors?" He snapped, slamming his fist on the table. "You don't know anything." She never brought it up again. Then came the job that changed everything. A warehouse raid, easy in and out, but it went bad. Really bad. The Crew didn't just want the money, they wanted blood. Logan stood frozen in the chaos, gun in hand, watching as one of his so-called friends dragged a man to the floor and pressed a knife to his throat. Something inside him snapped. He turned and walked away. But walking away wasn't an option. The threat started almost immediately. Anonymous calls in the middle of the night. A black SUV idling outside his apartment. Notes slipped under his door with just 2 words: "Stay quiet." He packed his bags that night, planning to disappear, but deep down, he knew they wouldn't let him go. The next morning, they found him in his car. A single bullet to the head. The police ruled it a suicide. Case closed. Megan didn't believe it, not for a second. Logan had his demons, sure, but he wouldn't have done this. And there were too many loose ends, too many questions left unanswered. But the police wouldn't listen. "They always have a hard time adjusting," the officer had said, shaking his head. "We see it all the time." His death made the news for a day. A local hero, gone too soon. A funeral with a flag draped over his casket. A few empty words about his service. And then, silence. Months later, Megan found an old journal Logan used to keep. Tucked between pages filled with scribbled nightmares and names she didn't recognize, one phrase was written over and over: "They won't let me go." She tried digging deeper, asking questions in town, but no one wanted to talk. Eventually, she let it go. But every now and then, she'd see a black SUV parked down the street from her house, just sitting there, watching. The truth of what happened to Logan Keller stayed buried with him. And the Crew, they found someone new.